This is the GPL podcast from GopherPuckLive.com. I think Mo gets pulled one of these.
Oh my goodness. Who are you? Oh boy. Duke making mistakes. I love it. And so I had to train for this marathon.
Make sure you stay awake for the game tomorrow.
So right away my confidence is doing really well before that. And then Don goes, "Can anybody on the ice take a penalty shot?" And the referee goes, "No, it has to be Ramsey." And I'm like, "Okay, there's shot 2 to the confidence. That's great."
Good evening and welcome to the GPL podcast, episode number 231. Well, good evening, Mr. Vigo. How are things with you tonight?
Fantastic. I am off the COVID reserve list, back to full strength.
Yes.
That bye week, it's the right time for me to pick up the COVID and get the boogeyman in the house, and it just stayed with me. So,
that's good.
With my family, so feel good about that, and back and ready to go here now down the stretch.
Well, we're ready to go for the stretch, and you know who else is ready to go for the stretch? Mr. Pat Micheletti, and he is joining us once again. There he is. How you doing, Pat?
I'm ready. For some playoff hockey. Let's get it going. Get rid of here. Right.
It's that time of year where it is like the playoffs. Not playoffs yet, but every win is a big win, and it's just an exciting time of the year. I mean, I'm sure you guys were watching the Wild game or paying attention to the Wild game, and it's like, come on, guys, it's time to pick it up. And maybe the Wild need to learn that too, because the Gophers are doing pretty good at that, Pat.
Yeah, you know what? Not to say I'm surprised. I mean, we all know the talent going in, and I had reservations at the beginning of the year, and I think even the staff did a little bit, just in terms of how young they are. And but I marvel at the leadership that this team has with Lacombe, Faber, Johnson, Nelson, Brodzinski. Those guys have as much as we want to talk about the best line in college hockey and all the accolades by the D-Corps. I just think the leadership has really shown itself this year, and that's why I think night in and night out they're pretty consistent.
Yes, they definitely are, and we saw that a couple weeks ago, Vigs, when they took care of Michigan State. What was it? 9 seconds in, Mr. Cooley scored Friday night. It was all over real quick. 8-0 win. Night 2, a little back and forth, and then they pulled away at the end. But overall, they're putting themselves in perfect position.
Yeah, the thing that stands out to me about this team's performance on the ice is how much skill they have and how easily it seems they're able to take advantage of the scoring chances they get. I think a couple of years in the past, we've seen Gopher teams where they have a lot of talent, but they struggle to score goals when they should be putting the pucks in the net. This group, that is not the case. They are confident shooters. They're getting lots of scoring chances. They get on the rush and they go quick. They have defensemen who can join the rush and apply that additional pressure that gives their skilled players just that extra time, because they can outman the opponent to the net. And it's really been a fun team to watch. Like, all the games this year have been pretty exciting, I think.
And Pat, I think, one of the biggest things I've noticed that maybe didn't happen in previous years is when they get down, it's nothing. They come back and tie it. They got down again, 2-1 in the game, Saturday night game. They came right back. It seems like it doesn't faze them. It's like they just know we can get this done.
Well, to both of your points, and then you have to add something to that, right?
Yeah.
You got to want it.
Yeah.
And, when they are down by a goal, when they do have all this skill, even if you have all the skill in the world, if you don't have the want to get to areas to
Mhm.
to be the guy to get the goal, to make the hit, to make the pass. How many times, I go back to, geez, I think it was Nelson made a hit behind the net. Nevers picks the puck up. Brodzinski right in the slot. You could not draw that up any better,
Mhm.
right? I mean, that's the type of intelligence and want and desire and know-how to get the job done, and that's really, really impressive.
And Vigs, we've talked about the little resurgence of Michigan State this year. Yes, they are better, but Minnesota just kind of has their number, where maybe Michigan State just does better against other teams.
Yeah, I think Minnesota puts so much pressure against
Mhm.
Michigan State that you just don't see the skill. Like I said that when they played out at Mount Ice Arena, you just don't see enough skill on Michigan State to make you nervous. They
Right.
don't have enough players who can make talented plays and create space and create scoring chances or get on the rush. And once again, Minnesota Sparty series, we did not see a ton from the opponent over the weekend.
Yeah, and a big key for me for Minnesota is when their D are involved in the offense, meaning, involved in is I'll go as far to say as involved in the forecheck. When they're cycling, when they're moving, they know they
Mhm.
got a guy back because they're rotating up high. They're all of that stuff. When they get involved like that, that opens up so much more room for the forwards who are very skilled to go to work. But sometimes, um, you can see a lull in their play when the
Mhm.
D aren't involved. At least I can. And I don't know what you guys think, but to me, so when they're involved, it really is, it's artistry to watch.
It seems to me, Vigs, that sometimes they realize that maybe they don't quite have their game. And if they just play a little more lockdown defensively and then just wait for their opportunities, it seems like that's where they've kind of really been taking advantage this year. Playing
I,
just playing
I
smarter.
I think they're at their best when they don't force that first chance on the rush and they get into that ground game where they can really dominate a shift and put the other team on their heels.
Mhm.
And like Pat was saying, when the D get involved coming down from the far point for pucks that get wrapped around and they win that race, and now you have the entire opponent trying to shift to a puck on that side of the ice, and you have a skilled Gopher defenseman who's coming down and can make a play,
Hmm.
that just creates so much danger because a team in that transition loses their structure, they lose their check, and now all of a sudden you have these Gophers filling open ice, and you have defenders who can feed those forwards and create more scoring chances. I said at one point during the game on Friday that it was like coach's candy. You had
Yeah.
multiple players attacking the net. You had players winning second chances. You had a low high game. You had traffic in front of the net. You had players getting the rebounds. I mean, those are all the things you hear coaches talk about as the optimum game plan, and the Gophers were executing it. And that's
Well,
just tons of fun.
Vig, you probably heard my first question to Bob after the game. I said to him, "Okay, what didn't you like about tonight?" I
And
said,
he didn't take the bait. He didn't take the bait on you either.
I don't know what I got for you, Bob. What did I mean, it, that, and you're dead on. It was just a really, really fun game to watch, if you're a Minnesota fan.
And even more so, Vigs. Close got his fifth shutout of the season, his eighth shutout in the just over a year playing. He's not doing so bad.
When he's allowed to just play the shooter and be aggressive, he is so good. He is
Yep.
so good at playing. If he can just focus in on half the ice or has enough time to make his reads, he is a really calm,
He's calm.
smooth goalie. He knows when to freeze the puck and slow the play down. He knows when to deflect the shot in the corner and give his team the opportunity to have more momentum and not have a D-zone face-off. He just has a real good feel for the game right now.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And I don't know. I've had a lot. He's really fun to talk to. I mean, just great conversationalist, and and the way he plays goaltender is the way he talks. He's just very sure of himself, very calm, very collected, and conveys his thoughts terrifically. And then he gets in the net, and it's like you're talking to him, and that I think that really, I mean, I think the guys really trust him.
Mhm.
Because listen, I mean, listen, this isn't a team without warts sometimes, right? And there have been games where he has won the game for him, and I'll go back to the Notre Dame 3-0 win. It may have looked, the score 3-0. I think he stopped 3 breakaways that night. Okay, maybe 4. Um, and they don't win the game without him. So,
Mhm.
but we forget about him sometimes, don't we?
Yes.
Because of what they have, and he deserves a lot of credit.
Pat, I'd like to get your thoughts on Michigan State. Yes, they've been down for quite a long time.
Yeah.
They seem to be getting back some of that it factor. Not
Yep.
there yet, but they've made some good strides this year.
Watch out.
Yeah.
Watch out. I mean, Adam Nightingale is a good recruiter. You look at their top line, okay? Dorwart, Russell, and Jager Joshua. Am I right?
Hmm.
Yep. Or Joshua, whatever. The 2 guys are freshmen, and not the most highly recruited freshmen, but good players.
Hmm.
They are good players. They would be on a third line here at Minnesota. They are their top line. Okay. And so, this is kind of a rebuild for them. And
Hmm.
and those guys are going to be good players in this league. There's no question. They just need more of them. They need more of them.
Yeah.
And you can't do it overnight.
And,
Well,
and V,
step back. Some teams, have done it overnight, right, with all the transfers, but you get
yes.
the point.
And Viggs, it's I think this year they'll finally break that playoff jinx. They'll actually at least win a game this year, won't they? In the Big Ten playoffs.
We'll see who they play. I mean, it's very tight in
Hey,
the Big Ten right
it
now.
is.
Like
It
two
is.
through 6, all those teams are beating each other up. It's
Yep.
it's any team can win those games. I do think there's a little bit different attitude to Michigan State this year.
Yes.
It's just it hasn't shown against Minnesota for whatever reason. So I do think they'll have a good chance in the tournament to get off the losing streak there.
We need a healthy Michigan State. I don't know, Pat, if you think we need a healthy Badger team. In the big picture, we do. As a rival, we want to see them lose all the time. But
I'm saddened.
it's a struggle right now for them.
I'm saddened by the program. I think the last time I was on, we were talking about the Badgers, and I thought maybe they'd find some life, but they don't.
Mhm.
I don't know if they know what direction they're going, which direction they want to go. They're not recruiting like they used to. Now they have a bunch of guys coming in next year. I'm not your scout out there,
Mhm.
knowing a lot about a lot of these players coming in. But they're just we're almost to the point where they've hit rock bottom. And
Yeah.
could have said that last year, and they gave the staff another year. I don't know, but it's not working. They're not drawing. They play in too big of an arena. There's no atmosphere. They've got issues.
They definitely do. And Viggs, obviously we love to kick the Badgers when they're down, but we've been saying since day one, since this league started, a healthy Badger team is good for the Big Ten. Because when we started this Big Ten conference, it was both, Michigan and Wisconsin were down. Penn State, or I should say that Michigan State was kind of down as well, which is why you saw the Gopher dominance those first 4 seasons in the regular season.
You ask any player who played college hockey in the 70s, 80s, 90s, when Dane County Coliseum was their venue and it was sold out every night. That was the best road trip of the year for every team in college.
What can they do, Viggs? They're going to have to clean house, aren't they?
Well, they tried to clean house a little bit last year by having Granato turn over some of his assistant coaches. And, that obviously hasn't had much of an impact in their performance. They're having a hard time scoring goals. And Granato has a history of trying to promote offensive talent to shine. Mm-hmm. And whether or not he lets them get seasoned enough so that they can compete at the Big Ten level, that's just not happening. And you can't just hope that you have a Cole Caulfield every 4 years and that saves your program. And it's disappointing to see Wisconsin recruit that way. And they're still landing some good players like Will Scahan, probably one of the best defenders for the development team. Finn Brink, a really good player for Maple Grove. Whitelaw and Lewandowski from Rosemount. Like, they have good players coming in. They just don't have enough of them, and they come in too early, and they're just not ready to compete.
Yeah,
and Pat, I would say the atmosphere there, when the crowd is there, it's a great atmosphere. But Viggs has tracked it the last couple of years. It has really gone down the last 7 years.
And they don't seem to play with a purpose, with a structure, with an idea, with an understanding of situational hockey. If you go back and look at some of the goals Minnesota scored against Wisconsin in the past couple of years, you just say, what am I watching? 4 guys in the corner, 4 guys below the goal line. And, we can go on and on, right? I mean, you guys have seen them. I don't have to tell you about them. But that tells me, okay, is it just I'm going to do what I want type of thing? Or am I not getting coached the right way? Or, you know what I mean?
Or are they not being held accountable for mistakes?
There you go. And so, what is it? But whatever, it's not working.
Yeah.
It's not working.
Well, we'll get more into the series this weekend. Viggs, I saw Dale Beers asked us a question on Twitter. What do you know about the new commit, Nathan Airy? Is that how we pronounce his name? They got a goalie commit this week, a 6'3" kid from Cranbrook in the BCHL.
Not a clue.
Viggs, do you know anything?
Come on, Viggs.
I tried to study up on him a little bit this last week. I got into the hockey TV to watch some clips of their games and just see what kind of style he is. He's a big goalie, 6'3", looks pretty technically sound, gets in that big butterfly, has good solid pushes across, is able to keep that pad down to play those reads when he has to move across the crease. Big goaltender, played a lot of games in the BCHL and has gotten better every year. I think one lesson coming out of the Justin Close experience for Bob Motzko is he wants to have goalies that play a lot of games and are experienced by the time they come to Minnesota. I don't think we're going to see Bob getting kids who are 18 years old and have just played high school and maybe a little bit of junior coming to the program unless it's an emergency. I think you want to have these goalies who have a lot of experience, have shown the mental ability to bounce back from bad goals, and you want to see a progression of talent. And I think that's what Airy brings. And I think it's a very safe move to bring him in. And it kind of brings a question, what does the goaltending future look like at Minnesota?
Yeah, that's kind of curious. Does he come in next year?
That's my question. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would think so. He hasn't signed his NLI yet officially. So it's still probably up in the air, depending on what Justin Close has that option to come back.
Oh, he does.
because of the COVID year. So if he wanted to come back, he could. Who knows what's going on there? But this is a special year for this team right now, and I'm sure that's all they're focused on.
Yep.
That is true. Vigs, the Gophers have a 13-point lead over second place Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, and Michigan State, who all have 30 points. We know that Penn State and Michigan State have extra games in hand, but things are looking really good. They have a chance to clinch the league this weekend if they sweep the Badgers. There's a couple scenarios. If Michigan and Ohio State lose Friday night and Minnesota wins, they would also get the league title. So things are looking really good here. They're starting to kind of pull away thanks to a lot of those other teams splitting and all of a sudden Michigan taking off.
Yeah, and I think one of the things about Minnesota is they got away with some maybe not so great games throughout the year because their skill has been able to shine at the right moments. This has been a team that's taken advantage of opportunities when it's presented to them, and that gives them that nice cushy lead right now where they could clinch this weekend. And you're not trying to look too far ahead, but I think the players would be very happy to get that first banner in their pocket going out of Madison this weekend.
And Pat, it's I just kind of lost my train of thought there. Sorry, it's they could clinch early. We don't want them to see them have a letdown because they got to go to Happy Valley in a couple weeks. They got Ohio State coming back here. You don't want to see any bad things happen if they do clinch this weekend, Pat.
No, but the good thing is they're ending the season with two worthy opponents, right?
Yes,
true. They owe both those teams. Both those teams beat them, right? And so I think they'll get up for that. I don't think it's hard to get up on the road at Penn State. The atmosphere is terrific. Yes. Hey, to them, to Penn State, Minnesota's their big series. Let's face it. They want to beat Minnesota. And so I think they'll be fine for that. Now the last weekend, it could be really, really crucial for the Buckeyes, depending, like you said, on what happens in these next couple of weeks. So I think they'll be fine. I think this team will be fine because of the leadership that they have that I talked about earlier. I just think that they'll be ready to play.
Because I remember my train of thought. I think one of the keys this weekend that we've heard some of the radio and TV guys says that Minnesota's getting points every weekend. They haven't been swept in quite a while. I definitely not this year. He's looking up the stat right now, but they're getting points every weekend, whether if it's a split or 4, 5, 6 points a weekend. And they're like the only team in the Big Ten that's done that.
And they're scoring goals in all these series. It's not like they're having any scoring droughts. The power play has been the best it's looked since Bob has been at Minnesota. I mean, last year that was something that frustrated the heck out of me, was how poor their power play was with so much talent on the roster that they couldn't figure it out. Power play has been very good this year, very consistent. It helps to have guys like Jackson Lacombe and Logan Cooley and Jimmy Snuggerud and Jackson Nelson and Matthew Nyes on that top unit. They are all very productive. They are all very good at winning second chances, and they look smooth changing spots out there. And I think that's always dangerous for a PK to face.
And they share the puck. Sometimes sometimes I wish they'd be a little bit more selfish. When their power play, in my opinion, when their power play is stagnant, it's when they're moving it just around the perimeter. So, and when they get that, heavy shot from the point, I don't even care if it gets on net. If they let one go from there, then that opens up everything. Then you get the whole, defensive team scrambling, and then they go to work. Then their skill goes to work. Then they start moving it and giving and going, and then they, that's when they're successful, in my opinion.
Well, I think one of the things that's key is Lacombe, Cooley, and Suggerud are all very comfortable carrying the puck and bringing a defender with them and then getting the puck into the space that they vacated.
Yeah.
And that gets the PK spinning and getting out of lanes and creates 2-on-1s and scoring chances.
Yep.
When you have players who just say, I am the power play quarterback, I stay at the top of the point, I am an off-wing shooter, I'm on the top of the circle, and I'm the other one, I stay at the top of the circle, that is a recipe for stagnation and disaster. And
Correct.
this team does a good job of keeping it going.
Correct.
And if you just let one guy go, it'll just somebody like a Cooley will just dangle for a second and just snipe at top corner, like we saw just a couple weeks ago. Viggs, it's like, not going to cover me? Fine, I'll just take it myself. I mean, and that's the thing they have. I mean, you could have two guys collapse on Cooley, and okay, a bunch of other guys are open, and he gets the puck to Nyes or something like that. So, they have to take advantage of that, Pat. You send it down the Nyes, all of a sudden he attracts a bunch of attention. Well, geez, it opens up a lot of other things.
It's ridiculously scary. And when they get going, it's I tell you what, you wonder why Mariucci's been sold out the last 4 games. I mean, people are starting to, I got to see this kid. Oh, I got to see this line. Oh, I got to see their D. Oh, what an atmosphere. And from that, and the fans have been great. The student section has been, the fans have been into it. It's just, I'll go back the Michigan series. It was loud the whole weekend.
Yes, it was
loud the whole weekend, through both games. And I thought Friday night's game was better, but I just thought, man, that it's great to see.
I saw your son tweeting earlier tonight. He can't wait for Faber to get to the Wild. I'm like, hold off there, Alex, please.
Oh my God.
We want let's finish the season. Let's worry about this season with the Gophers first.
Faber was asked about that a little bit at availability today about if he's watching the Wild and getting ready. He's like, yeah, I watched the game a little bit differently because I could see myself there, but I've got a lot of work right now with this team, and we're headed to where we want to be, but we're not there yet. So it's a very different answer than some players when they say, oh, it's going to be an honor to play there. I'm really looking forward to it. Brock was very smart about saying, hey, I came back for a reason, and this is a lot of fun. I also think one thing about the fan base right now.
Is that leadership or what?
Yes.
Yes.
He gets it. He gets it. I think one thing about the Gopher fan base right now that's really fun is they don't seem to get nervous either, kind of like the team. Sometimes when you go to Excel and you watch a 0-0 first period, you can just sense the fans getting kind of antsy and nervous and stressed about how the Wild are going to handle this. You have something similar at Mariucci, the fans are still into it. They're still excited. They're still confident in their team. And I think, it just goes back and forth with each other there.
My biggest problem this year with as a broadcaster, when I'm calling the games, is that I literally sometimes have to just say, settle down, because the expectation level, you expect them to make a great play all the time.
Yeah.
And they're not gonna, right? I mean, with all the talent and all that, I'm just thinking, oh man, I can't believe he didn't make that play. And I gotta say, be quiet, be quiet. It's not gonna happen on but they've taken us at times to the level where we think they're good, they're gonna do it because they're that good.
And they've done it multiple times, Viggs, and that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. If they're down in a game, it's not a big deal. There's no panic in their game, and like you said, there's no panic in the fans. They just kind of know it's going to work out.
I mean, when this team pulls the goalie to get that extra attacker, and you have guys like Lacombe and Faber at the point, and they have the 4 forwards that they select from for that opportunity, it's a lot of fun to watch because they make confident, steady plays and they win second chances. It's really exciting to watch. You don't hope for your team to be down goal
True.
late, but it's fun to watch Minnesota when they are in that position.
It's really funny, guys, in the shootout at Notre Dame. And, there's a lot of talk they lost the shootout. Okay. And the shooters were Pitlick, Brodzinski, and I forget. Okay.
Nelson, maybe?
No, maybe
either.
maybe Hughlin.
Hughlin, I think, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, and people are like, well, how come Cooley, Snuggerud, and Nyes? And and Bob gave an explanation after the game, whatever. But I'm thinking, man, that's okay with me. I mean, it's okay. Those guys can score. They can snipe. They can handle the puck. And I just thought it was funny that there was so much angst because the big three weren't in the shootout.
Well, I don't think it may not even matter, Pat, because what's the numbers? Are they like 2-13?
Yeah.
In shootouts since they started in the Big Ten. It's just something it's just not their thing.
Right.
Well, let's get into this weekend, guys. I'm heading to Madison myself as a fan for the first time in 16 seasons. It's going to be fun to be back at the Kohl Center. They're having this red and white stripe out this weekend on Friday night, folks. So if you're going to Madison, wear gold. I keep saying this. I've been doing some short videos and stuff on Twitter. Wear gold Friday night to stand out and ruin the Badger stripe out. Please.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how many people take part in that, from the Badger side.
Well, the seats are kind of reddish, so maybe that'll help them.
Oh, it is Minnesota, and they'll probably draw a little bit better when the Gophers are in town. But listen, if the Gophers come out ready to play, and they will win they'll sweep. Okay, they will, because they're just the better team. And but if they come out and they're stagnant and they're taking their time, then listen, Wisconsin beat Michigan earlier in the year. You got to be careful. You just got to be ready to play, in my opinion.
Well, Viggs, Wisconsin only wins league games at home now these days, because I don't think they've won a game on the road in I don't even know if they did last year. It's been a while.
It's been a while. They're struggling. So I think if you're Minnesota, when you go into Wisconsin, you have to play that smart game. You have to play that playoff game. You can't get into that. It's point night. Let's go out and get on the rush. They have to do the things that make them successful. And I think one of the big keys this weekend for Bob is to figure out who are those six forwards that are going to be on that third and fourth line. I think it's pretty set that the Cooley, Nyes, Snuggerud line and the Nevers, Nelson, Brodzinski line.
You're right.
Like those are pretty set. So who are the next six players that are going to be in the lineup? And that's what Bob's looking for is he's really challenging those guys to perform out there, because he's got some options now that Schmidt has shown himself as a physical player who can change the momentum of a game. Who else is going to fit into that lineup?
So you're really looking at four guys. Your fourth line, and then who's going to play on the right side with
Pitlick and Hughlin?
Yes, right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yep.
I don't, unless I'm missing something, but
as good as Pitlick and Hughlin have played, they have not produced points like you'd expect from their possession. So You're trying to figure out the right puzzle piece there. And if that puzzle piece doesn't fit, then maybe you have to split Pitlick and Hughlin and try somebody else with Hughlin. So I think there's some question marks there, because Connor Kurth was a great scorer in the USHL last year. Yep. He got a couple goals here in the last couple weeks. Is he going to get a chance? John Middleset's been very reliable, but he hasn't, helped a lot of offense. Strobel, same thing, a
But
lot of size, a lot of effort, but they got to get some momentum out of those guys.
but you don't need you need nothing offensively from Middlestead. You know, I mean, listen, and you know, your fourth line. I look at Minnesota and the way they're built, and to me, and I hope they go with it. But you know, I think I mean Schmidt, he needs a little bit more ice time now, right? And that means, and so I don't think he's going to come out, at least initially. And so you have him and you have Middlestead. All of a sudden, you got some bangers. Okay. So who's going to be on that right side? Is it going to be Lamb or is it going to be Kurth? Is it going to be Lamb or is it going to be Kurth? Right. And then are those two going to flip flop? That's the way I see it.
Well, and which player out of that group can also help out on the penalty kill? You know, that's another component this team is looking for, because you can't dump all that ice time constantly on Nelson and Nevers and Nyes and Cooley. You've got to find some other guys who can eat those minutes.
In a lot, right?
Yep.
So, you know, I think, yeah. I mean, listen, Middlestead's not, you know, he gets in there and he can, to me, and I've been impressed with, just because he goes out there and he works his tail off and he hits and he you know, he gives the bench some energy, I think. Now, you know, is that the way they're going to go? I guess we're going to have to wait and see, but you know, and that's why I'm up in the press box with you guys, not behind the bench. And as I always tell Killer Steve Miller, I don't tell you how to coach. So, but here's what I think, and then laugh. So,
honestly, Viggs, I think this team goes through the stratosphere if Hughlin and Pitlick just come back to where they were last year at this time.
Right, and I think the issue with them a little bit is having those one and done offensive possessions. Where they're
stringing them together,
play.
like you've been talking about. Yep.
They need to connect the links of the chain, and sometimes that's the confidence a player brings to the ice. And when they make those plays, it helps everybody else. And I'm not asking these lines to go out there and put up, 2 points a night or 2 goals a night. I'm asking them to stay on the plus side of the plus minus, and I'm asking them to maintain momentum when they take the rink and allow the line that comes on after them to start in the offensive zone or to come into the neutral zone and reload. And that's, I think, a key thing that they're going to need when they get to the tournament and they play these tight checking teams. They need lines that can come out there and have the confidence to just have a positive momentum shift. So that's what I mean, Pat.
And that's where it goes back to finding that piece for them. Is it going to be Lamb? Because you see Kurth, yep, and you get some good shifts. You see Lamb, and you get some good shifts. But what you're not seeing is the consistency out of that. Mm-hmm. And then when that drops, well, then you've got 2 guys, and then that's where your one and dones come in, and then you can lose momentum in a game by one shift.
By one shift, and then taking a penalty off of a mistake.
And that's it's going to be key.
All right. Well, Pat, I'm guessing you're picking a sweep this weekend for Minnesota, aren't you?
Well, I am. I listen. If they come ready to play like I think they will, then absolutely they should sweep. I mean, you're playing a team that has 3 wins all year that is lost. And Minnesota, they could drill them. I mean, they could literally drill them this weekend. So that's what I'm expecting.
Does Mo get pulled this weekend, Viggs?
I don't think so.
Okay.
What? I know you probably do. I think Minnesota doesn't have a trouble weekend, even if they don't have their A game. Just based on the way Minnesota's played this season and the way Wisconsin's depth is just non-existent, I think Minnesota doesn't need their A game to sweep. And that's probably what we're going to see. I think coming off the bye week, there might be a little bit of rust in the Gophers game. There might be a little bit of that looking for points that could impact them. But I think because their defense is so steady at shutting down play, that they'll be able to recover even if they have a few missteps. And they're already in Madison tonight. There's some weather kind of coming into play here this weekend. So Bob didn't want to take any chances with having a rushed, commute to Madison. So he took care of that. So that's smart. Just get that out of the way and get focused on hockey this weekend. And Bob also encouraged the Gopher fans to come out and make the trip to Madison because he knows tickets are available. And he referenced the fans being a big reason why guys like Faber and Lacombe came back. Because, when those players started, it was during COVID and they're playing in front of family, just like they were squirts. And now they're getting this experience of full Mariucci, full crowds, really engaged, great atmospheres. And so I think Bob's doing a little bit of campaigning for the fan base to start traveling a little bit more when opportunities like this present themselves.
And just watching the game, the exhibition game against Bemidji, we talked about this, Viggs. When they scored that late goal to win the game, the place erupted. I mean, it was like it was almost like it was very heavily for the Gophers in the crowd that night. And I'm thinking this weekend there'll be quite a few. Like I said, I'm making the first trip in many, many years. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun weekend. And when they hear that kind of crowd on the road too, that's effective.
Yeah.
So
I think that's what they're looking for. Yep.
I'm saying sweep. Of course, they're saying sweep. The Badgers stink. We don't need no stinking Badgers. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Are you going, Pat, or for radio at all?
Nope. I'm off this weekend, just the show, and that's it.
What do you guys have on Beyond the Pond this week? Do you know?
We have, the head coach of the Bemidji State Beavers, Tom Saratori.
Oh,
must listen radio.
Must listen. Yep.
8th game behind the bench last weekend.
Nice.
So good for him. We're going to have Scott Wheeler on, talk about the Wild and their prospects. Who else are we having? I leave it up to Fallness half the time, and I guess that's okay. And who else? I know we're having somebody else on. I don't know.
Pat, you're going to have to challenge Wheeler a little bit. He ranked Lacombe as the Ducks' 7th best prospect and didn't even mention Lacombe's power play prowess or his late game tying goals that he started to put out there. I think he's maybe a little underrated when I looked at the Anaheim prospect list at 7. And Lacombe recently said that he is going to sign with the Ducks at the end of the year. He's not going to go free agent.
Yeah. Good for him. Good for him.
Interesting. Very interesting.
That is really interesting too, because the Ducks have a plethora of young D prospects. And so we don't have to talk NHL, but they're going to move Klingberg. They're going to move, maybe Fowler. They've got to completely revamp what they're doing there. So good for him.
Okay.
And yes, he should win the Hobie. All right, everybody, Gopher fan. As much as I like all the other guys, I think he's the best.
I think it's going to be tough because they do have 3. They've got more than 3 superstars. I mean, it's a lot this year. But who else really stands out, Viggs?
For Hobie?
Yeah.
I mean, there's some good players in college hockey. There's this Fantilli guy at Michigan who's leading the nation in scoring.
Yeah, he did kind of overtake that now.
How about
as
this?
a draft eligible.
How about this? I like Brindley more than I like Fantilli.
Ooh.
I thought Brindley added a lot to that line when he joined it. It's just that secondary player to win pucks back. Brindley impressed me with his compete. Fantilli has a lot of skill, but Brindley's compete really shone against Minnesota.
Yeah. All right, enough of that.
Well, thanks for joining us again, Pat. It's always great to have you on the show.
Always great to join you guys. You know that. So,
and
weekend.
Playoffs are coming up, so we might have you on again if it gets interesting.
Talk to my people. That would be Biggs. Talk to me. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the GPL podcast. Well, obviously, we'll again thank Pat for being on the show once again. We'll be back next week to recap the Badger series and hopefully celebrate another regular season title. For those of you currently watching live, stay tuned for some overtime. We're just me and Viggs. Pat has to go, so we'll let him go. But for the rest of you, we'll catch you next week on the GPL podcast. All right, what you got, Viggs?
We got a little size 11 triple IPA from Steel Toe Brewing. This is a big guy. This is 11% ABV. It's a delicious, clean beer. I mean, just look at that. It's really clean. Lots of Northwest hops.
Northwest hops.
Smelling. Just delicious smelling. Good foamy pour here.
There you go.
I mean, you would never, well, you might guess it's 11%. It's a little thick, but it drinks great.
So it doesn't taste like bread, like Mr. Shearhorn did said.
Well, it would to him probably, because I sense he's maybe more of a White Claw, Bud Light type guy.
Oh, wow.
Than a size 11. All the kids are these days.
Fighting words.
Yeah. But I, as people know, I think Steel Toe is the most underrated brewery in Minnesota, and they just kick out good product.
There you go. There you go.
Might be a size 22 night.
Thoughts on Logan Cooley drama? What is that, Audrey?
I don't know what the Cooley drama is.
Talk to us, Audrey.
I know that he's probably a player who's not long in the tooth for Minnesota. I think he wants to be in the NHL, but I don't know if I'd say that's drama. He is a talented player and he wants to be a professional. I get that.
Yeah, definitely.
But he's under the microscope for me right now. I'm wondering how long he's able to do kind of his high zone puck handling stuff that he does, and wonder if it's going to bite him one of these games.
If they pressure him and take a steal to go the other way.
Yeah. Like against Penn State and Ohio State, especially, those teams seem to do high pressure better than most opponents. So I would be watching that when it comes to that series. Against Wisconsin, I don't expect a lot of puck pressure on Cooley. I think he's able to get away with it.
There you go. Sorry I didn't get a chance to put too much of the chat up tonight. We just kind of let Pat go, and he goes.
Pat's on the move.
Pat is, he just goes.
and he's been a little under the weather apparently. So
yeah, he was. He did say he was kind of sick when he first came on tonight. So he's like getting over it. And I'm like, yeah, Beats is doing the same thing.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty healthy now.
That's good.
I did get out of my isolation in time to go to the Skate with the Gophers with my kids.
Did see that, and I saw you posting a video with Ryan Johnson having some fun with the kids, aren't they? Or wasn't it?
Yeah, it was kind of fun to see Ryan Johnson out there skating around, and he was enjoying it. You could kind of tell some players, they just kind of want to hang out with the other players, and the kids will come up and get autographs or a picture or whatever, but they're mostly just kind of there to be there. Guys like Ryan Johnson are out there skating around, coming up to kids, playing tag with them, racing them around the rink. He looked like he had a real good time with it.
Yeah, because he's very shy with the media, always kind of head down, kind of attitude. But yeah, it looks like the kids kind of really open him up.
Yeah, it's
great.
I think he's grown into being Ryan Johnson over the last 4 years. I think he was a pretty quiet kid at the start. He's still a little uncomfortable in front of the cameras, but he's gotten a lot better over the year.
Oh, darn it. Come on, computer. Yeah, I was trying to do something there. Get this thing to turn off.
But yeah, I was able to get out of my isolation. I did wear a mask because I wanted to make sure that I definitely wasn't going to spread it to anyone at that event. So,
what's that? Hopefully that's not good, Ryan. But there's always behind the scenes stuff. There really is, isn't there, Viggs?
There is.
There's always something happening.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and sometimes we hear stuff, sometimes we don't hear stuff.
Yeah, sometimes guys are late for the bus, or they miss being ready for game night or something, and that Bob doesn't like that stuff. You don't get too many strikes on that stuff. So I think that's one of the reasons why a certain goaltender is at AIC, and also maybe why Bob went with an experienced goalie in Erie to bring in just in case, give a little more stability back there. So we'll see.
And really, it looks like a good pickup. I mean, like you said, his numbers are getting better every year. He's a 6'3", he's a prototypical goalie size.
Plays that prototypical style too.
Yeah.
Gets big.
That is true. Oh, here we go. Oh, yes, the big. Oh, someone did something. Uh-oh. Can't elaborate, but it's real. Oh, jeez. That's not very nice, Dan. Oh. Missed you guys after a week off.
Chat's in full effect.
I had been so busy the last couple weeks, I totally forgot to do a new beginning video. That's I grabbed the one from episodes past. So I got on the computer and I'm like, shit, I didn't do an intro with some different videos. I'm like, of course it was too late, but
yeah. I've been impressed with the upgrades this year, Jude. You're doing a real fine job with the show.
Well, I'm saving more videos, and like a lot of times on the Thursday afterwards, during the day, instead of listening to a podcast, I'll put like other podcasts, I'll put it on ours, and I just kind of listen to it, and like, ooh, that was a good bit.
That was a good clip. Yeah,
I just kind of write it down in my notebook. It's just kind of, and then come back and grab a clip, and I got a list of a bunch of clips. And speaking of clips. I added the audio this week. Let's listen to Jess and Bob from a couple weeks ago.
It seems like the number one team in the country gets knocked off the next week. You might go to number one, now you got the weekend off, so maybe you can avoid that, or you thought about that?
Oh, we're really excited. We're really excited about that.
He said sarcastically.
I'm only talking to Jess Myers right there. Okay? I'm talking to nobody else. All right.
Oh.
You really don't.
It was good stuff. Oh, I don't want to play it again there. Oops. Oh, Jess is always there to entertain Bob.
Let's see. Am I able to present and share audio?
You should be able to upload it.
I don't know if I.
You see where it says background music?
Yeah.
You could add stuff to just add it.
That's going to be too hard to do.
Oh, geez.
Chrome has lost permissions.
Email it to me. If you have something, email it to me. I'll put it up. That's easy.
All right.
Enough. Easy enough. Okay, let's see a couple more comments. Poke the bear. Rematch against Michigan would be insane. I think it's gonna be kind of weird, Vigs, because they're gonna take first place, so they're gonna have that weekend off, and then 2 games and maybe 2 games and almost 3 weeks before the NCAA's. Not ideal.
And I tell you,
just because of the format.
Having some issues here.
It's all good. It's all good.
I just put it in the private chat for you to grab.
Oh, well, let's see what's in there.
So it's an audio file that we want to get to about 58 seconds of that file.
Oh, it says I'm not logged in.
Here, let me try anyone with link. Copy link. That.
Yeah, that's the same URL.
But does the second link work for you?
Let me try it. Oh, wait a minute. Where'd you say 50 some odd seconds?
58 seconds. The latest on Jess and the media.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me check some of my audio sources so I can see if I can get that played back. So StreamYard feed. Okay, let me try this. Okay.
Thanks everyone for being patient with us.
It's overtime. I'm sorry, what did you say the seconds again? 50 something?
58.
58. I don't know if you'll be able to hear this.
I know you guys don't watch for
I do every day.
Do you?
Oh, I do.
You do?
No, I'm kidding.
But you guys have earned
We've had a little joke with it. I really like to look at it in April, is what I'd like to look at. There's no question we put ourselves in a great spot. That's, going into every year, if you could back up to July, June, July, August, and we want to have a one-on-one, and hey, we got to get in that tournament. And what's proved out for so many years is no matter where you come in, you get in that thing, you got a chance. And we put ourselves in a pretty good spot to get in that tournament. 2, you want to stay healthy. You want to be playing your best hockey at the end of the year. And unfortunately, for where we sit, it has not been a huge advantage over the years, over the last short history. You have to be playing your best hockey.
Well, so with that said, you have been playing pretty good hockey, and this is kind of a byproduct of it. So maybe this past weekend was a great just a rest of the leg because the mentality is there as long as the physical as well.
Yep, and that's the only thing we're going with. Because we really felt we were rusty from the long Christmas break and 4 guys being gone for a month. One example is like Jimmy, bigger guy, Jimmy Snuggerud. Cooley, a little scat back. He came back and, he just needed a drink of water. And away he went. Snuggie was a little tired right away. And all of a sudden, the last couple series, he started to just have a different twinkle in his eye. That he was getting it back and he knew it. And that's part of what we deal with too. And we feel we're getting everybody on board.
Bob, the Big Ten's in its 10th year.
You want me to keep going, Biggs?
We can probably cut it at that. Bob gave us about 10 minutes today, so he goes on a bunch of different stuff. One thing Bob did talk about today is like he just wishes they could be on the NHL size sheet the rest of the way here.
Yeah.
Because he wants them to be ready for that come tournament time. He kind of alluded to that earlier. He's like, being where they are and the pairwise and all that stuff hasn't worked out for them in their last couple tournament runs. And he kind of feels like they haven't been playing their best down the stretch. And I think the rink size contributes to that. And also the Big Ten only having 7 teams contributes a little bit that as well, because they play these 1-game weekends here going into the tournament. And so it's great for that rest, but it's not great for getting your A game going into the playoffs. I think he's a little wary of that right now. He likes where they're at, but we're still, 5 weeks from regionals?
Yeah.
6 weeks from regionals? So that's a long ways away.
Yes.
For Bob, and I think it's longer than he'd like. It's almost like he'd like them to start the tournament now.
Why no Mileski this week? Todd is at Happy Valley as we speak. The Badgers wrapped. I don't know if they won. They were back and forth. I was watching him. He's doing basketball. He could not make the show this week. We mentioned a couple weeks ago early, he's been kind of pulled off of hockey to fill in for their basketball because basketball just gets more readers. And they didn't have a basketball guy for right now. So that's Todd right now. Sucks for us in the show because Todd's it's like one of our best guests, if not the best guest we have.
Well, it's horrible for this weekend too, because we won't get that Badger perspective of the games.
Nope.
Todd always there getting quotes from players in Granado. And
I'm hoping he gets back there and covers the games. I don't know. I haven't messaged him. I guess I could, but anyway, I think he mentioned that it's the news desk covering Badger hockey right now.
Well, they're kind of doing what some of our local papers here have done, where they have someone who looks at the box score and listens to either the Gopher Puck Live post-game comments or the Jess Myers post-game stream comments, and then just steals quotes from that, which I personally hate when the papers do that. It's like, just hire a freelancer to go do it. Just quit stealing stuff from people who are actually there. It infuriates me a little bit.
Yeah.
Because if they threw out $100, I'd be more than happy to write for the Pioneer Press or the Star Tribune when they can't send someone.
Yeah.
It'd be great. But, oh well. They want to blow their entire sports budget on sending 5 people to spring training for 6 weeks and staying in an Airbnb and cover the Twins. That's what shot their budget last year, and I'm sure it's going to happen again this year too. So, oh well. Thanks for everyone who supports GPL, though. We've had a lot of good traffic this month, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been
sucks
good.
when we have a weekend off.
Yeah.
But,
well, it was good for me. It was good for me. I was
you're recovering.
Lockdown, so
you were on the DL.
So I was on the DL. So.
But I do like these new little things down here. I like it how we could separate it now.
Mm-hmm.
A name and a headline.
Now we just got to get a sponsor again.
That is true. That would be nice. Guys, know anyone? Anyone?
Yep.
Bueller?
Yep. We have a lot of interest. We'll plug a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, hair product. I could do some hair product, beers, whiskeys.
Yeah, I got quite
wine.
a bit of hair product in.
Yeah.
We shall see. We shall see.
And by the way, people, if they are questioning what to do with their loyalty program stuff, I would think that the Skate with the Gophers should be high on their list in the future, because you get like 90 minutes to skate around Mariucci, which my kids loved. And the players are all out there. Everyone was there except for Faber and Lacombe. I don't know. I think Faber did the polar plunge. So I think that's why he was gone.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to Lacombe, but those were the only 2 guys not there. So, the players are there making friends with all the kids. The middle stats were carrying kids on their back for laps around, like piggyback style around the rink. So that was fun. Close was showing off his goalie gear to all the kids. He's wearing the big leg pads around the rink. So I don't know. Everyone was nice.
Oh boy, I'm just looking through some things here.
I was wondering if Craig Floor texted you. He's still got his job, even after being on OT with us for an extended period of time.
He got in a little trouble.
Well, yeah, but not too bad. Not too bad. He still got his job. He's not on double secret probation.
Yeah. Bobby, can't believe this podcast is going for so long before I discover. Well, we're glad you're on board, Bobby. One thing we've been trying to do since just a few years in is doing this live. We like the interaction with you fans. I mean, we started with going audio live, and we had some chats, and we had a lot of different things going. And then now we're doing video because we figured that out a couple of years ago. And that's one thing I will always love about our podcast, that we've been live longer many years.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love that aspect of it. And I'll always love that aspect of it. We're Gopher Puck live because, we've been doing it live for so long. So it's just, and we've gotten better at it too. If anyone goes back and listens to the first season, you weren't on yet then, Vigs, but me, Hammy, and Cardinal, it's some brutal audio. But as anybody, you get better. You get better on audio. You get better on TV. I've been having fun the last couple of weeks. I've been doing some of those short videos I've been putting out, just having some fun and just doing quick little videos and getting more content out there. Instead of having a big podcast, hey, just put a couple things out on Twitter and Instagram. See if people like it or not. And then, because it allows you, like I said last week, and I just jumped on, record a couple clips, put it together, edit it, send it out. It's content. It's fun content. So, yeah, video is much better. But we still have the regular old recorded podcast that a lot of people still listen to. I mean, I'd have to look at the stats, but Apple does give us pretty good stats, and it's still 500 to 700 just on Apple Podcasts, something each week. So it's good.
And my wife was impressed. There were a couple of people that came up to me at Skate with the Gophers, and they're loyal listeners, and they just wanted to, thank us for what we're doing. And they enjoy the content we put out there, and they appreciate it because, it can be a little bit of a abyss for Gopher hockey coverage out there with the decisions papers make. So I appreciate the support, and I appreciate you coming up and telling me in front of my wife and kids how much they appreciate this because,
he's down in the dungeon on Wednesday nights. He never comes back out.
Never comes back out. What's going on down there? Sometimes my wife, she's going through Twitter or Facebook or whatever. She comes across the show for a little bit and she'll watch for a little bit, but she doesn't watch it start to finish like the rest of the crew does here. And so that was fun to meet people who listen to the show and get some feedback. So I always appreciate that. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've had quite a few people come up to me if we're out after games or whatever and come up. It's always fun to interact with everybody. And then obviously we've got some of the regulars here that we've known for years and years and years. And it's great that you guys are still here. We appreciate you.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that we get the StreamYard now that we found, was it early last year after we were doing on Zoom for a while, but this software is awesome. You keep adding little tweaks. Like I said, you got our little name stuff down here. They keep adding little things here and there to make it easier for us. It's worth it. $25 a month. I think it's a bargain.
Bargain.
Worth paying for. Live show at the Frozen Four. Right now, I'm going to Tampa. Things may change on that. Do some other things happening, but more on that maybe next week. We'll have to see, but that's the plan.
Okay.
I know that's kind of weird, but I'll talk more later. not on the air, probably not anywhere until next week. What time am I getting to Madison Friday? Oh, that's Mr. Klein. Jared and Bertoglia. Those guys have been going for like decades.
What's the itinerary for the Madison trip? Are you worried about the weather like Bob is?
I'm not, because it's mostly going through tomorrow and I'm leaving on Friday. Unfortunately, I can't get out until about 12 here. So it's going to be run down there, get checked in. And it's going to be kind of a little cluster on Friday, but it's kind of out of my control. So whatever. So I think Saturday would be more of a fun day, but
I blame 3M.
24. It's not. I have the day off, just doing some other things.
Okay.
So not 3M, my lovely employer. 24 years. Yeah, Jared and I haven't been in 16 seasons. It's sad. But it is what it is. But, I got it. It got to the time where the kids, you're not going away all the time for kids. And it's it's 4 hours just to get down there. It's not that easy. It was easier when we had Duluth because I loved that weekend the most for me.
Mm-hmm.
Which has been kind of ruined the past 10 years just because they don't it's all this home and home bullshit. But
yeah,
some of my best memories are in Duluth. And funny thing is, you got Jared Klein there. I was in Duluth I think it was last April or something like that. And Jared was up in the same hotel at the same time, just up there visiting. So ran into Jared and his lovely wife and his family were all up in Duluth at the same time. Still my favorite trip. Yeah, I guess it'll probably always be my favorite trip. It's going to Duluth for hockey, but whenever that starts happening. When are we going to start hearing about it? It's been so quiet. You used to be able to dig and find stuff, Viggs, but now future contracts and stuff it's getting more and more difficult, isn't it?
Well, there's been turnover in the ADs. Like Duluth has a new AD. St. Cloud's got a new AD. I think Minnesota State is being more protective of their scheduling, is the vibe I'm getting. So they're maybe not looking to do road series at places like Minnesota right now. So we'll see what happens there. I think they're starting to try to protect themselves a little bit with their non-conference and put themselves in a better situation for the tournament. That's just the vibe I'm getting.
Conference isn't easy enough to get them in there, and
well, it's the Penn State model. Like if you win your non-conference games and you do well in your conference, you're going to be in good shape for the tournament. And I think Minnesota State's in that sweet spot right now of being one of the top dogs in CCHA. And as long as they don't hurt themselves in the non-conference, they're going to be okay most years. I think it was kind of concerning for them this year, the way they played in non-conference, and they've had to play really well in the CCHA to bring themselves back into at-large territory.
Yeah, because they were in the 20s for a little while there.
And so was Michigan Tech.
Yes.
Michigan Tech was in the 20s too, and it looked like for a while CCHA wasn't even going to have a at-large type bid team. It was just going to be their conference champion, and now that's changed a little bit. So I think Tech and Minnesota State can now make it as at-large teams, but they have to play well down the stretch here.
By the way, it's the girlfriend's first road trip for hockey.
Was it Red Shed? Red Shed?
I don't know if I'm going to the Red Shed. I actually sent a message to Frank today. Say, is there any good restaurants, like not in that central area that we could go to before? That's not just packed.
And just take her into the deep end right away.
Oh boy.
It's better than going to grandma's and having pictures of kamikazes, right? Or would that be better?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm thinking Madison might be a better first trip since it's not as hostile there, and she knows hockey very well, and she'll probably hear, at least my experiences at Cole Center. There's a lot of stupid fans there. They just don't. Oh, yeah. It's just like, get excited with a 1-on-3 coming in the zone. I just want to say, she'll hear that and she'll go, God, these people are stupid. I'm like, yes, they are.
Mm-hmm.
Her record at Gopher games is 0-3, Tim. She's been giving me a hard time. She goes, oh my God, if they lose in Madison, you'll break up with me.
It's a safe weekend.
They'll come after me. And I'm like, no, like it has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with you. But, whatever.
But speaking of schedules, I will be doing a FOIA pretty soon because I think those contracts have to be close.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of being coy about it.
And yeah, the sports garden is gone.
I know that.
That sucks, though. It sucks. Yeah. That's not good. And the girlfriend must have been watching because she reminded me. Yeah, it was when we ran into Jared in April for her birthday last year. So, what do you? Well, hold on. Let me go full screen here. Oh, wrong one.
Wrong one.
Sorry.
This is just the regular size 7. I'm not going to go 2 size 11s. I'm just going to go 2 beverages here. Size 7, standard, always in my fridge. Just the best. Best IPA out there.
Mote, I haven't seen you in here in a while. There's Mote. Is the Essen house still open? I don't know. The Who got a rough road left. Could be some big ones or a bunch of losses. How much does it hurt the final face-off, whatever they call it, if North Dakota doesn't make it?
Even get there?
Yeah.
Crucial. Because,
I mean, I'm sure a lot of those fans have already bought their tickets. They'll probably still go like the WCHA Final Five.
I don't know.
Or are they allowed late second tickets?
Who would they go to hate? Who do they hate in the NCHC? Because I think North Dakota fans used to come to the old Final Five if North Dakota wasn't good to cheer against the Gophers. But I don't know if that same kind of thing is going on in the NCHC. I don't follow it as close, but I do feel like the other fan bases do not travel quite like
they won't have St. Cloud fans there.
I mean, do you remember the regional where St. Cloud was in at the X, and there were like 7,000 people there for that game? It's just that's the size of their fan base. You know, they're not going to fill an 18,000 seat building on their own.
Yeah. And that school is still in trouble, Vigs. Their enrollment just keeps crashing.
Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. We'll see. I don't think it'd be good for the NCHC if North Dakota doesn't make it. And I think North Dakota, they liked having all those transfers come in to fill their team last year. But I think you can see this year having that turnover and not having that continuity in their program is damaging. You can't have that many transfers come in. I think it hurts your team too much from year to year, unless you had transfers who had more than a year or two to play. Like Jared Bowen. Like Jared Bowen is a good transfer.
Could you see Close doing that?
Transferring?
Yeah, not playing his bonus year somewhere else.
I mean, it could, but I think Bob would let him come back if he wants to come back.
Okay.
I think Bob makes exceptions for goalies because it's such an unknown position. Whereas like Cruikshank, you know, I'm not gonna screw up bringing in any of the freshmen I have coming to make room for him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's a different equation. But like a goaltender, unless you're going to lose Aerie. I mean, Aerie's 19 right now. I feel like he's coming next year, but we'll see.
So I had fun last Friday night. I was streaming 4 BTN Plus things. I had, all the men's games and the women's game. And then later on came Duluth was playing Michigan Tech and St. Cloud State was playing Miami. And then I had the All-Star game. I had 7 streams going. And then I watched that shootout between Miami and St. Cloud State. And they went to 11 shooters. And I think there was one good glove save for one goalie, but it was just brutal, Vigs, how bad it was.
I was in the GPL chat with Brever.
I noticed that. I went back and saw that. Yeah.
It's like, this is the worst shootout I've ever seen. Like, all the players are coming in, mishandling the puck. And I'm just like, any stick handling you do from the neutral zone to the top of the circles, you're just showing off. And so many players were doing that and mishandling the puck. And then they're kind of like caught off guard as they come in on goal. And they were just so bad.
Yeah,
and
I was
Rich
like, it was so bad.
Rich and Parrish were just like, oh, wow, so exciting. I'm like, oh, my God, this is the worst thing ever. I can't believe I'm watching this.
It was bad. And then, I noticed it went to shootout again Saturday night, and St. Cloud came out completely different. They just came down with speed and did real quick. There was a completely different mindset. It's like Larson said to him, quit fucking around, get down there and shoot. And it worked. Boom.
Yeah.
Because the night before, they must have got yelled at. He was like, quit pulling this shit, come down with some speed. And that's exactly what they did. Completely different.
Show me you read the GPL chat without telling me you read the GPL chat. Clearly. Obviously Brett Larson's on GPL lurking in our chat.
Somehow I get an NCHC forever trial. I signed up maybe 3 years ago and I haven't been charged. Oh, nothing wrong with that.
Wow.
I'm just glad I had my great internet connection because, like I said, I had 7 streams going up on my big screen and like all this stuff going on. It was wonderful. None of it was. I think I had the audio of the All-Star game on, or the All-Star, whatever that was. I mean, boy, they should maybe scrap that whole All-Star stuff because
Well, I think they should
yes,
scrap
it was good for TV, but wasn't it Russo was saying it was just brutal in person.
Yeah, I think they should probably scrap that creative shootout thing, like with the Happy Gilmore stuff. And like, I mean, the OV Jr. thing was kind of funny.
Yeah, but still.
But it's brutal. But I still think fastest skater, hardest shot, accuracy shooting. I still like when they did it in Vegas and they had like the sauce it stuff where they had to saucer pass into like the mini nets and stuff, like a relay race. I still thought that was kind of cool. Like some of the agility puck handling stuff. I've always thought that's fun.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see like a defenseman go through like a 4-way skating agility speed thing. I think that would be fun. I would like to see a hardest hit thing where, you know, like how they have the boxing thing and you have to hit it and it registers like the pounds of force that you generate. I would like to see them have like a tackling dummy kind of thing that would do something like that too.
Yeah,
so,
but there's
like,
probably
you have,
risk
like, a
of
hardest
injury
hit.
or hitting something wrong. And
I don't know.
Okay, here's Mote. Possibly stupid question. Is this the most talented Gopher team, top to bottom, you have ever seen? I say yes. People kind of do forget that 2002, of those 2 championship teams, just look at the defensive core they had back then, Biggs. I mean, people say maybe this one's better. Maybe they are. Win a title, and then we'll think that. But I think until they win a title, for us, those are the best teams top to bottom they've had. I mean, barring the 70s teams. Obviously, some of those 70s teams were amazing. But in recent history, obviously, those are pretty damn good teams.
Well, I just look at this team and I wonder how many NHLers we're going to see out of this group. Like, I think Faber, Lacombe, Johnson are all going to be NHLers. I think they all skate well enough. I think they all have enough skill. Like, they're all going to the NHL. Just like you have like the Martin Leopold, Goligoski crew come through.
And Ballard played. Don't forget, quite a bit of NHL too. When he's not, swinging a stick at a goalie, but
yeah, I like Kester a lot, but I just don't know if his body's going to hold up. He's had the shoulder issues and stuff. That's kind of limited him. But Chesley looks like he could be an NHLer.
Like pure talent, right?
I think the pure talent of like Snuggerud and Cooley and Nyes is better than the pure talent maybe on those teams up front as well too. But I don't know. This team is super consistent.
Are we going to see another 80-point person again?
No, the game's different.
Paul had 81 points that year.
The game is different. Like the goaltending is too good. The defensive structure is usually too good. Like if you're a bad team in college hockey, you're bad because you can't score goals. You're not bad because you don't play defense. Coaches are too smart. Like if you have a bad team, you're damn well going to play defense. Like look at Bemidji. Like not that they're bad, but they're just not skilled.
Yeah.
They make it really hard to play against them.
And are we saying the same thing in 2 years? Because look who's coming in 24.
Yeah.
Eiserman's ridiculous right now.
I just think the fact that Lacombe and Faber came back makes all the difference.
And that's what was the big deal with 2002. Leopold came back.
Yep.
He could have easily been gone.
Yep. He wanted to be
you
gone,
look
actually.
at how solid he was, how many points he was producing. But he had 17, 18 goals that year. I think he was the goal scoring most goals in a season by a defenseman ever.
Do you remember hearing that conversation that he's rehashed about how he wanted to go pro, and the team that was trying to sign him, was it Calgary or New Jersey? Who owned his rights?
It may have been Calgary because I remember him playing for Suter up there.
Yeah,
Sutter.
but they basically came up to him and they're like, So, okay, you want to sign with us, huh? What were your goals when you decided to play for the Gophers? He's like, well, compete for a national championship and win a Hobie Baker. He's like, well, you haven't accomplished those goals yet. And they kind of
Challenge accepted.
They kind of said, maybe you should go back because you aren't dominating the level that you're at. So go back, dominate it, then sign. And obviously it worked out because I feel like you can very rarely stay too long, but you very often can leave too early. Like,
Boy, you sound like Don Lucia there because that was a big mantra, Don Lucia. It was.
I think
and
it's
he was
true
not,
for any
he's not
coach.
wrong.
I think it's true for any coach.
Yes.
Like, if you're going to step right in the NHL and be a difference maker, go ahead. Drive you to the airport. But like Brock Faber this year, he is going to be ready to play in the NHL at the end of the year. Last year, maybe, but he probably would have played in the AHL a lot this year. So, like Casey Middlestat, he's playing well now,
but it
took him a long time to get to where he is at right now. And he had to play a lot of games in Rochester to get ready to play in the NHL.
But then you look
I think he probably would have been better off had he stayed and worked with Cal Dietz and got coached by Bob and played on the power play.
True.
He probably would have been in a better place. Yeah.
But then you've also got the surprises. Who would have thought Justin Hall was an NHL defenseman, much less even maybe an AHL defenseman?
But it's not like he left early.
He didn't leave early, but what I'm saying is like then there's those outliers that you just all of a sudden I mean, that was his only goal of the season in the 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Was it 2014 Frozen 4? Or 0.6 was his only goal in the season.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know if that maybe that helped. I don't know, but he obviously stayed his 4 years. But did anyone see him being an NHL player and a one that plays all the time player?
He's actually a pretty important piece for them too.
Yeah.
He's an important part
kind
of
a big deal.
Yeah. So
having Hall at NHL career, hope Fish signing was oh.
Never know. I hope Fish gets a chance to play next year. I think he's just a unfortunate casualty of so much talent on the blue line. Like with Cal Thomas and Luke Middlestat looking as good as he had, and Ryan Chesley, who I think it's a crime practically that he didn't get to play more in the World Juniors because he was exactly the kind of player I thought that team was missing.
Oh boy, I remember you talking about that too. They really need that physical presence. They didn't get it.
They didn't get it. They were super soft against Canada. And I thought if they just had a little more heaviness on their blue line, maybe they play differently. I don't know.
True, Hall has had a good career in the biggest NHL. That is true. Toronto cannot be an easy place to play.
It's just like play for Minnesota, right?
Not quite.
Not quite.
Yeah, and Brever talking about Gensel. No one's. I mean, he wasn't a superstar in college. He was good, but
I think Gensel would have been better in college had he been on a better team, though.
Yeah,
because Jake reads the game so well as a supporting piece that I think if he played at a place like Minnesota, he would have been a much better college player. I noticed that with him in high school, and I'll always go back. I got to do one of those HP high performance camp evaluations, and I was like the only evaluator telling us to send Gensel to the 54s in New York. I was like, this guy makes good play after good play after good play at 16. And I didn't even really know who he was at the time, but I was just like, he makes everybody out there that he plays with better. It's like, I've got a sheet of pluses and minuses for all these players, and he's got more pluses than anybody. So, he's a good player.
Saw some mention of Nick Seeler there.
Yeah.
I think
Good for him
even though
to
guy
make it.
is O'Brien still playing in the NHL? O'Brien.
Jimmy O'Brien?
Yes.
The vagabond player who, when he came to the Gophers, was a vagabond. Played on like 6 different teams in 6 years.
That is true. I always thought that was kind of weird. That he only played 1 year, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. When was that? I think it might have been 2007. I see him in a photo over there on the wall. That 2017 was pretty good. O'Brien, NHLer, Eric Johnson, Oposo.
None of those guys stayed long enough, though.
True.
You know, they all were quick to go on to the next level, and most of them did okay, but they didn't stay long enough to have good college careers. We made it through the whole show, hour and 30 minutes, without talking about Lucius ending his season again.
Oh yeah,
did you see that?
What did he trip over now?
Shoulder injury that he didn't want to play through and got surgery on again.
Was it a hit or just compilation of the season? I've been seeing a lot of tweets about him. He'd been playing really good lately, but
I don't think there was a specific hit that injured him. He got injured in the AHL season when he was playing for the Moose in Manitoba. And he kind of, I think, sat out games so he'd be ready for the World Junior. And so he was healthy enough to not practice a little bit, but play in the games and play through maybe some discomfort. And then after the World Junior, he decided to go to the WHL and play for Portland. And he had a couple good games. And I think probably his shoulder was still not feeling right. And so he went to the doctors and
what was his injury here again? Was it an ankle or something?
He had weird stuff. He had a broken thumb, I think, from practice. Somebody slashed him in the hands and he wouldn't play through that. And then he had a foot injury with a bone thing there that he didn't want to play through that either. And I mean, it's his body. You know, if his doctors are saying, if you don't have this procedure or you don't rest, you're going to have some long time pain or whatever, it's up to him. You know, he can do what he wants. But I think for teammates to see other players play through that stuff, it's disheartening, I think, for everybody around. And, you know, who knows? You know, he could recover from all this stuff and be just fine and be a productive player at some point. But I think it's frustrating for some of the people outside the circle of trust to see this again and again and again. It's like the 4th time now that this has happened.
Does brother regret going to hapless Wisconsin?
He's probably getting catered meals and chartered flights, and
just like he would have gotten here.
Yeah. I don't think I don't think Bob wanted him here.
And that was a Lucia thing.
That's a mutual thing. Well, Bob wanted those guys at St. Cloud too.
Okay.
St. Cloud was right in it with the Lucius kids. Like the coach for Gentry was a St. Cloud guy. You know, as a St. Cloud alum who coached the Gentry stuff. And I think the Lucius family just wanted to be on a bigger stage at Minnesota. And so that's why they went there. But everybody was going to take those kids. So,
yeah.
Who knows? Best of luck to him. He's really talented. He looked really good for Portland. Like when he's out there against kids his own age, he looked great. Like he's got good vision, good hands, good shot.
Yeah, but you want to make it to the NHL Vigs, you got to have some rugged side to you. If you're just a soft player all the time, it doesn't matter how much skill you have, you're not going to last.
Pierre-Marc Bouchard was never going to hoist the Stanley Cup. You know?
But he had that nice spinorama.
He did. But guys like that are not going to win the Stanley Cup. Guys like Martin St. Louis are going to win Stanley Cups.
Because he busted his ass.
And he is super hard to play against. even though he was only like 5'6". You know,
You got to look.
gotta
It's
be
like
courageous and
Gianta was the
do
same way.
yeah.
But you gotta have some toughness to you.
As Bill Guerin says, you got to have a little FU in your game. If you don't, you're going to get taken advantage of. And that's why Sammy Walker got his call up with the Wild this year, is because Billy saw some FU in his game in the AHL. And he's like, okay, now that I see that, you're ready to go. I don't think we saw enough FU out of Sammy Walker at Minnesota.
Or any.
His freshman year, he showed it.
Yeah.
His freshman year, he was a pain in the ass to play against.
Ooh, 4-1 final in the Wild. That was not good. Maybe it wasn't so bad not having him on blacked out tonight. Fucking A.
By the way, Luke Middlestat, full participant in practice. There's one defenseman I will not mention was not a full participant, but I think he'll be fine this weekend. So,
Stodiker. Yeah, it's good. Stodiker's in this weekend, so you're saying.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody ripping me. I don't see how you can't spend 60 cents a day to watch games you pretend to be interested in.
Which games?
I must be talking about the Wild. Because I'm not going to spend $20 a month on a Bally Sports app that I hear is complete shit.
It's not complete, but it's not great. It's not as good as like some of the other apps that are out there. It works.
Yeah.
I tried really hard to do the Wild stuff. I just don't like the Bally stuff right now.
Well, they're in trouble.
Yeah.
They're in big trouble.
It's hard for me to support that when they wouldn't negotiate at all with Hulu or YouTube TV, knowing that those are like the biggest to market things. Like I can understand sometimes going through we've got an agreement. We're blacking it out for a month while we try to figure this stuff out. Like they wouldn't even do that. Like they just played Texas Hold'em hand and lost. So
wait a second. Hair game on GPL is elite tonight. You guys got stylus. Ote Mote.
Mote is taking advantage of that new gummy access in Minnesota, maybe. THC for the win.
Bally's going bankrupt. Yeah, I mentioned this on GPL, and Handyman shot me down, but you saw what Apple did with the MLS. They bought 10 years. I don't watch the MLS, whatever, that's fine. They bought 10 years. You could stream it anywhere. You could stream every game. There's no blackouts, no matter what. And if you're a season ticket holder, you get it for free. Part of your package. Maybe it doesn't work for some of the bigger sports. Boy, I would love to see more of that in the future. I don't think we will because there's too much greed out there. We'll have to see how Apple does with it. Like I said, I won't get that package because I watch international soccer, Team USA type of stuff, but I haven't gotten into MLS. But I just like the concept of it.
Well, I think if the Big Ten gave BTN Plus to their season ticket holders, I think that would be a huge benefit for certain groups. Right?
Maybe.
I think it helps. It helps Minnesota sell more than 4,000 season tickets if you get BTN Plus with it. Maybe. I don't know what that number is, but I don't think you're losing that much money either.
It was $59 pre-tax or before taxes for the season.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. That's a reasonable amount for me.
More for and that's Bobby. You say more 4K. I don't know what Apple's doing there. If Apple does everything in 4K, I think they should. Apple's got the money. They could definitely do it.
They were one of the
whether if they want to invest that much into MLS soccer, that's another thing, or if it's just a test for them. But I think
it's a test.
Well, I know they went after the NFL, but the NFL ticket they wanted to include it and have no blackouts, and the NFL said no, you can't do that. But I think this blackout bullshit, like it happened to any of us tonight in
with
Twin
the Wild.
Cities.
Yeah,
we couldn't watch the Wild tonight on I have YouTube TV. It was on TNT. It was blacked out. I can't get it on YouTube.
Stupid.
It's just it isn't Dapper Dan. It's just a little it's gel for me. I'm not a Dapper Dan man.
Yeah.
But I think Apple could really kick things up. You know what? Every broadcast in 4K. And maybe start to add new features where you can change the audio to span, or you can change the video. There's so many things you could do with computers and streams, and click a button. I want a wide angle, or you get the NFL. I want the all 12. Was it the all 12 or the all 20? It's all 22. All 22. They got this wide shot. I would love to be able to just have that in like a soccer or hockey game. Hey, just get a quick zoom out. Let me just kind of see the whole thing like I would from like a fan's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I'm not going to watch it, but I'm just interested to see what they do with it, because they have an opportunity to jump up to another level, which would maybe get somebody like an Amazon or a Google to do something similar with, like YouTube TV. NFL's going there. There's just a lot of things you can do, especially when streaming now. Broadcast, you don't need to have. Broadcast is over. Broadcast is done. Kick it up, Apple. Go all 4K. That's a big start right there. Not this up-res bullshit that some of the 4K stuff is. A lot of it's just HD that's up-resed. Full 4K. Let's go. We'll see what happens.
I apparently have to get a 4K TV. I don't know anything about it.
I have a 4K TV. I bought one a couple of years ago when I moved into my house here. I love it. And the funny thing is, like right after that, right after I moved in, the Olympics came on, and Dish Network had quite a bit of 4K stuff. And I saw hockey in 4K, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is fucking amazing!" It was, obviously it was 2018. So it was a little. Sometimes the picture was a little dim, because that's a lot of resolution. It's kind of how HD was dim at first. It seems like it wasn't very bright. But they'll get better. But I'm still thinking, hey, Apple, if you're gonna, I'm guessing soccer in 4K is probably pretty good.
Yeah,
I wish more networks would do it. Let's see a Super Bowl in 4K. Why haven't we seen that? Not up-res, do the whole thing.
It's got to be coming soon, right? Super Bowl.
I think they technically did one, but why isn't it? Should be here now.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say I probably Fox has a Super Bowl this year. They should have a stream version of 4K or something like that. Maybe they don't have to have a broadcast, because broadcast is a whole different deal. It's different on a YouTube TV because that is technically streamed, but over the air, and I'm not sure how all that works. Yeah, I'm on a soapbox tonight.
Yeah, you are.
We're trying to push technology. The technology is there. Like I said, I was streaming 7 freaking hockey events last weekend. 0 problems.
Well, I also think that we need to see more of like the welcome to Wrexham type stuff in other sports, because I don't know if you paid attention to this at all, but they were in the FA Cup this last week.
Oh, really?
And their game was on ESPN Plus, and it was like one of the highest watched ESPN Plus sporting events that they've had. And it's because Ryan Reynolds owns this club, and they have a reality show on FX. And so they have all these people who are just like, hey, they're playing in this big FA Cup match. I'm going to tune in and watch. I was one of those people. I was just like, oh, yeah, I'll have it up on my screen. It's like, I know who Paul Mullen is, and I know who Ollie Palmer is. And, it's like you connect a little bit more with the players and the club and the town. And I just think there's an avenue for that. And I know it's a huge investment for that stuff to happen. And it takes Hollywood money like Ryan Reynolds provides, but it's cool. I'm a sucker for it. I know I got into Formula One a little bit because of the Drive to Survive stuff. And, they do a pretty good job with that. PGA Tour is going to do it this year now, too.
Gosh, I remember just seeing just tennis for the first time in HD back, a long time ago. They had some tennis. I'm like, holy crap, this is amazing. And like you say, you maybe don't have a 4K TV. I've just had one for a while, so like Disney Plus, I can watch like all the Disney stuff. Like I watched The Mandalorian in 4K, and it's it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
BTN, switching to Google Fiber might be a big deal, but the thing is, I don't know. Our speeds are always getting faster every day.
Yeah. BTN is doing like their little features and stuff, but it's not like a season long thing that they could do. Like, how cool would it be to follow Brock Faber from October to April with weekly check-ins with him, like a crew showing him around and following his practice habits and his film sessions and the road trips and interactions with the players and his parents and his sister, and all that stuff. That would draw in your casual fans if they did something like that. But they don't. They just do like one 30-minute thing where they have 3 10-minute stories. And that's nice, but it's not the same thing as the immersive kind of deal. So
I just want to push technology. I just want, you got somebody like an Amazon or an Apple with just so much money they don't know what to do with. It's their chance to really boost things. Even if it's a sport I don't really watch.
I don't know. I got to step up my game a little bit, and maybe I'll produce that someday. Maybe we'll do it with Iserman when he gets to the Gophers. We'll show Cole's first year as a college athlete. So,
I would love to do more stuff like that, but I'm just trying. It's tough when it's just us, V's. It's not easy to just put out all this content when you don't have the whole school behind you, and you got 10 guys and they got a bunch of students in the arena capturing video all over the place, and it's we're just a couple people operation here, folks. Trying to give you more content, which is why we do this. But we were doing this long before most other people, so
yeah, that'll be our next step. We'll do a season-long NIL deal with someone and try to get access.
Good luck with that.
It could happen.
But we'll see, if we'll see about, doing a show. I might, doing my best to be in Tampa.
With Allie.
Whether the Gophers like it or are there or not, we'll do a show that Wednesday night. I could be at my sister's house sitting by the pool, hopefully.
It could be at Allie Ray's house sitting by the pool.
No. I saw her doing all this stuff that I did. I'm like, whatever, and it's tweeting out, blah, blah. And then I actually went and looked at the profile, and it said something, literally said something about porn star. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't even realize that. I thought she was just doing. I had no idea.
No idea.
I'm like, unfollow. Sorry. But maybe she's getting, other fans to love Gopher hockey, and more fans will take it. I don't know. I like literally looked. I'm like, oh, that's nice. But then I went to actual profile. I'm like,
yeah.
Oh,
I think there were some people within the program who were a little nervous about her being at was that Notre Dame she was at?
He was at Notre Dame, yeah.
Yeah, I think they were a little worried, but I don't think they wanted that kind of NIL deal happening.
Well, no, definitely not. But from what I've seen, like when she retweets stuff, it's not like she's super.
Yeah, I know.
It's all she's
not
just
up.
trying to get. I think she just wants to get people to subscribe to. I don't know, but Ryan K. Georgia. What did I do? No, seriously, I clicked. I'm like, well, shit.
Had no idea.
I'm just an idiot. Well, but there is that too. GPL Collective. But we are going to do a show. We're going to do our best to do a show from the Ralph next year. So that could be fun.
Yep. Nodak is definitely an easier deal for us to do.
Soon code of conduct violation promote porn in NIL.
And gambling and alcohol and THC. So
Steve, please do a show. Okay. Honestly, you would be the best. There's the potential that the USCHO party is that same Wednesday night. Probably at a big hotel. And I'm like,
great guess.
I could just have guests. It could be a big cluster, but it would be a fun live show.
Yeah. The drinks usually flow at that party too.
I heard.
Yep.
I'll ask Tim about that next time I see him. It's like, hey, when are you doing that party?
Yeah.
But still waiting on some things next week, so I'll have more answer on that maybe next week.
Okay. Yep, I'm still on the fence about.
Well, aren't you guys going to DC?
We're still on the fence. I don't know.
DC is a fun trip, though.
It's a fun trip. We haven't booked.
How old are your kids?
Yet. 8 and 10.
Ooh. Gosh.
So
there's a lot of cool stuff. Yeah.
And now Disney might be in the thing at the end of the school year because it's a work trip for my wife that might match up. There's a lot of moving pieces. We're trying to budget our year. And now my kid's saying he wants to go to some hockey camp. It's just
no. Sammy Walker camp.
Right. That'll go over well. It's hard enough having my kids go up to Justin
Dad,
Close.
Sammy Walker checked me for some reason. It wasn't very nice. I don't know why he would do that.
Take a picture of me with Justin Close. Oh, okay. Average goalkeeper. Ran into Close, Nelson, and Lacombe at Costco the other day. Just saying hi. Just one voice over here. Sure, they don't listen, right? They don't have us going.
I wonder.
They don't have us going while they're playing Catan.
I wonder.
In the background.
I remember back in the day. I remember going to Duluth, and I think the team was in the same hotel. And it was before I wouldn't have had a lot of laptops, internet. I remember seeing players sitting at the shared internet computer at the hotel, surfing GPL as he was doing homework, whatever.
Yeah.
So I often wonder, but it's like, there could be players that have been registered on GPL all these years, and I would never know if they had a certain email address unless. And it's I don't even bother looking up that stuff anymore. It's just if players want to come look, go right ahead. We're fans here. We want you to win too. We'd love to have you on the podcast after you're done with your career, though.
Yeah, that's a little.
I think we've learned that it's more fun when you're done.
Yeah.
You be afraid to offend somebody.
Everyone's pretty cautious while they're still in the game. So for alums, who do people want to hear from? Guys who are out of the game now, who would you be interested to hear? I bet we could get Joe Dzik on.
I don't know Joe Dzik.
I coached with him for a little bit. So
maybe.
I think he might be a fun guest. Should we try to get Joe on?
It's a possibility.
So we talk all kinds of things with Joe.
Snuggerud. You couldn't get Snuggerud right now. His kid's playing. That's just.
He's on TV enough.
He has been getting him and grandfather too.
Yeah, they're getting a lot of TV time.
Johnny Pohl. Angel.
It's tough because it's tough.
Angel's kind of a
Angel will be good.
Angel might be good.
He came to the POI skate.
He did.
Yeah, so he might be good. I
think
think Pohl is tough because he's still a high school AD. So I think that would be hard for him.
Yeah, it is. Still Martin Vanek. Spiel. Nope, I cannot have Spihar. I cannot have Spihar. Nope.
Fake Spihar.
Fake Spihar.
Fake Spihar.
I still want to get fake Don on.
Yeah, fake Don would be good.
Yeah, I think Angel would do it. He's a good kid. They're not kids anymore. Jeez, what am I keep thinking? They're younger than me, so I'll just say that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have the real Spihar on either. Took out my Jefferson team going for a 4-peat. I'm still bitter. Let me be bitter.
Oh my goodness. We'd have to, if we got Spihar, I'd have to give him a hard time.
Greg Shepard.
High school hockey.
Greg Shepard would be a really good guest.
He went on with North Dakota guys.
I'm
for
sure
their podcast. That North Dakota thing.
I miss Shep in the press box. He was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
People love to hate him. I don't know why, because he would rip his own referee. He'd rip his own son if he made this stupid call.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have made that call. Jeez. Yeah, he would have been good.
All right. So we got some ideas.
Oh, I'd love to get Crowley, but that's kind of a long way. Justin Kloos is still playing. If he stopped playing, I think Kloos would be one because that kid bled maroon and gold.
Mm-hmm. And he was always good at having a comment off the record, kind of after.
Oh, his comments on the record were good.
No, but he would be good because he'd be like, "All right, everything off." Blah 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 blah. He'd add like one more little thing. He's like, I can't say this when the cameras are rolling, but I have to tell you this before I go back to the locker room or whatever, you know. So
the new improved Don Lucia. Let's get the Don on.
The much calmer Don.
He's got if he was still involved with stuff, maybe, but it's CCHA stuff for him now, and that's just. Hey Deutsche, you listening right now? Send us a text, Deutsche. We'd love to get you on in overtime. Climber. I don't think Climber would come on. You guys would hate on him too much. And he's blocked GPL on Twitter.
Yeah. He's a little thin-skinned on some of the criticism people have laid out. And it's okay. I'm sure he's doing just fine with his +2 handicap and investment life.
Oh, boy. All right, gang. I think we've gotten enough tonight, haven't we? You got anything else, Mace?
Nope. I've got a busy weekend ahead. I'm going to be in rinks Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, Monday night, Tuesday night, and Wednesday night, and Thursday night. I'm going to be in rinks a lot the next couple.
Whoa, geez, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yep, so.
Thanks for hanging on. We still got 44 people watching, almost 2 hours in. You guys, we'll catch you next week, huh? Later, gang.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for saying hi when you see me.